Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to the very first episode of Beyond the Headlines with Thomas from True Reporting, me, and the conspiracy queen, Linda Paris. Linda Paris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so excited about this because we've been talking about it for a long, long time. And finally, we're finally getting to do this.
Yes, it's super stoked about it. We've been planning it. I know we're gonna get the transitions better with music and everything like that. Basically, I just did that all on my own. Linda Paris actually made the intro, which she did a fantastic job. I thought it was really, really cool. So if you guys enjoy that intro and if you're going to enjoy us working together, this is going to be every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk conspiracy theories. We're talking with the queen of conspiracies. That's why I wanted to do this with her, because on True Reporting, we don't really dabble into that as much as I'd like to. And this is a perfect way to do so. And we're going to do it every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. It's a 2-hour show. We're going to do all conspiracies. We're going to basically just kind of go in from maybe one day we'll talk about a couple. Maybe one day we'll just stick on one. And then we're going to do call-in shows. We're going to have maybe other guests. I mean, who knows? Who knows? This is just the first episode, and it's really, really flattering to have all you guys here to see two great YouTubers who believe in the truth, but they believe and they let their mind wander, and they can, they think about, they open their mind to things that most people don't, and we want to all share it with you. So Linda, what do you have in store for us today? What are your thoughts on what's been going on? The thoughts on this show? Let's get into that.
Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here. Obviously, we've been talking about this. I've been talking about it on my show. And the way I look at this is these are the conversations that you want to have. It's kind of funny. I was just telling you about going to, down to Sharky's by the pier. And
Hmm.
I went down for the purpose of talking to Captain Roy, but the whole thing grew into a whole crowd of patriots. And I got into a conversation with the guy there, and he was expressing to me that he doesn't have anyone to talk to about this stuff, but he watches my channel, and he goes, I'm there with you with all of this stuff, talking about all of this stuff. He just started listing stuff like clones and, just all of this stuff that we are going to talk about, because I feel like there's a lot of people that want to talk about this stuff. They want to explore what's happening. We've been told that everything we know is a lie. That's a pretty heavy statement right there.
Yeah, I heard a statement today. I believe Jordan Sather threw it out there. It was like, if you think they'll lie about, whistleblowers and stuff, if you think the news lies, what else would they lie about? Like, if they're willing to almost blatantly lie in front of us just about the news, about just, meaningless things. Not everything's meaningless on the news, but just, minuscule things. Just imagine what else they're lying to us about. And there's a reason for that, and that's to keep us down. It's to keep our IQs down. It's to keep our thought processes down. This is what they're here to do. And, it's a sick place, these oligarchs and these people that hold us down, and these people that write the rules, and we're plebs, and you will obey and abide by what we say. And I feel like we're breaking out of that somehow. Somehow we're breaking out of this. How do you think we're breaking out of it?
Well, the one thing while you were talking, I was thinking of is that
Hmm.
how long have they been doing this?
Right.
Because when you think, you really have to open up your mind a little bit. Yeah, we just found out about all this in 2016, but they've had control of all the history books, all of the science books. The Rothschilds publish all that, all the books that you use in school. encyclopedias, things like that. And it's like Jordan said, if they would lie about these smaller things, think about all the control they have and all the things they have control over. So,
Everything.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You have to start questioning everything: the food you eat, the your school, your education, your entire education. And I have a feeling that this goes way back before our school books. Anybody that's, I mean, I'm older than you, but anybody that's watching this within our ages that we're still alive today and we're watching this and we're talking about it, um, has probably been fed from the same poisonous tree,
Yeah.
And so we really have to go back way before and try to figure out how long has this been going on. And I think it's been going on since ancient Egypt and before, and maybe even before we even know about time existing. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is on a different timeline that they have created, and the real timeline we don't know.
So you talk about timelines, and I talk about timelines sometimes on my channel, and it seems as though the way I believe things. And guys, like, we're gonna go into some stuff that you may disagree with. This is all just the majority of this is hypothetical, but
Yeah.
I no longer really believe in a ton of conspiracy theories. I now believe them just as conspiracies. I think that I've come to a point in my life where I'm starting to realize that the majority of stuff that I'm researching just has so many coincidences, and we know that those don't exist, that it's what it really is. It's true. So, when we talk about timelines, I believe that everyone's path is pre-written, and the universe continuously will give you something to your end goal. Everyone has an end goal, and this is my belief. And let's say, for instance, you want this house. You buy this house. The house keeps just everything's going wrong with it, but you refuse to sell it, even though something keeps going wrong with it over and over again. You should just sell it, get rid of it, move forward to another house. And I believe that the universe will continuously giving you roadblocks until you take it. It's like a loop effect. You keep going in the loop, before you learn your lesson, and then you make your way out of it onto your next journey. So, and within that journey, you grow. You grow within this journey, and I believe that that's what we're here for. I think the whole thing, even entangling in the Great Awakening, is we're here to learn and grow. And I believe that you can either slow down the process, which is what the cabal, which is what this deep state, or you could think of these oligarchs and the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and all these people, and archons. I mean, we can get into this, archons. If you don't know what that is, I'm sure we'll get into it. I can bring it up on the computer. I believe that they try and stagnate us so that they can trap us back even further. But with a Great Awakening, with like learning what things are for real, the matrix begins to break. It begins, the veil begins to lift, and then there's no stopping it. Then from a stagnant point of view, from a stagnation point, you begin to grow and blossom, and then the effect moves forward even quicker. Like most people say, Linda, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this. A lot of people say that we're over 300 years in the past when it comes to technology, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to knowledge. We're like 300 years in the hole when we should be 300 years in the future. What do you think about that?
Well, I think when it comes to these people, yeah, we are, because they've been hoarding all the science. They've been telling us what to think and what to believe, basically. because when you own all of the school, when you're the one publishing all of the books that are being used in school to teach all over the world, you basically hold the key to everything. I mean, you are teaching, and then it's kind of like why I got involved in flat Earth theory. Just researching it and wanting to know about it. I mean, do I think that the universe is the way they say it is? No, I don't. I think they're lying to us. Do I understand why people believe in flat Earth? Yeah. If I was to learn tomorrow that there was flat Earth, I could accept that because I've studied it. But I'm kind of leaning towards the solar system again. But I did dip into where I opened up my mind to the flat Earth, you know, and I see why people did that. They were bucking this them trying to force this solar system thing into the schools and stuff because they believe that the flat earth was biblical. And if you look back into it, there is a lot of evidence that is very hard to explain, such as there's a certain I think it's the San Francisco Bridge. Somebody out there might know what it is, but it's where there's it goes for miles and miles and miles, and you can see the end, So if the earth was curved at that point, so I kind of don't know what the shape of the earth is, but my point about it is I studied hollow earth, flat earth, every other kind of earth, underground, all the different theories about Earth, because I learned that everything that I learned in school is probably a lie. So I don't trust the solar system, the whole round Earth solar system. I had to go out and do all this research in order to get my grounding again. That was the only way I could get my grounding again. And even now, I'm still waiting to see what surprises there are, that they haven't told us. So, yeah, it pulls the rug right out from under us. How long has this been going on? How long have they known about everything? And we've been 300 years behind them.
Right.
I think way longer than we think.
Yeah, I think I really do think that with military and you have these boring of holes in the earth, and you have deep underground military bases, and then you have these satellites, and now Trump's talking about going to Mars and so on and so forth. It's very it makes you think what is out there, and
right,
that we are so asleep. And it's true. It's just exactly what 17 always says. He says, if you knew the truth, it would put 99% of people in the hospital. And when I think, my theory on that, and after I give mine, I'd like to hear your theory. My theory on that is that this is a matrix. This is what you do, what your reality is. You shape your reality. And I know people, and I know this, guys, and I know that everyone's going to say, Thomas, you've been talking about finding God and in Jesus, and I really have. But I'm not just going to limit myself just to that. Like, I still let my mind wander, but I know who my Savior is. I know what gives me strength and energy and everything like that. But there's no reason for me to just shut every other else thing down and not learn and expand my thinking. That's what we have, 17, it always says expand your thinking. So what I think all this is I think it's synchronicities. I believe that it's also a matrix where what I do with my life, what I push out, whether it be negative or positive or confusing or angry, I get that back, that it comes back to me, and that shapes the people around me. Because if we learn, and we can research this here today, that we're all linked. We are all created by God. We are all a reflection of ourselves. So the people who you surround yourself with are usually the way you're acting. Because if you're being, a real ass, you're going to surround yourself with probably bad people who are not doing good things. If you surround yourself with good people who are generous and kind, you yourself will adapt to them because it's almost as if you're just reflecting off each other. So what I think when everyone says, or when 17 says that when you have a 99.9% breakdown of humanity when they realize everything, I think that's what it is. I think people are so asleep that they don't really realize that they can actually manipulate their reality, and that what we're living in, isn't just so structured. Like, it's not just like a thing that can't be molded. Like, I think it can be molded, and I think it can be shifted. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you that that's part of it. I think that what 17 means, when they say that, I'm thinking, of course, I'm also the scream queen. I've written about a lot of horrible murders, and I've followed, I know a lot about serial killers and horrible murders and things. But I think what 17 means is when, and if within what we already know, okay, I think the cannibalism and the fact that they're putting this stuff in the food. Look, you and I know it's in there, but these people don't. What are they going to do when they find out they've been eating human meat and aborted fetuses? What are they going to do when they find out that their father died of cancer and that these people caused it? I think we're going to be introduced to new levels of evil, because ultimately, I think what you're talking about is definitely part of it. But I think it goes back to the ultimate battle between good and evil, and that the good, and this is where I think what you're talking about is so much better than we know it is. But on the flip side of that, the evil is so much darker than we could ever imagine. And this whole thing that you're talking about, because I do believe we are vibrating, all the time we're vibrating. We're sending out frequencies, depending on what kind of mood we're in, what kind of mood we allowed ourselves to get into. Because a lot of times it's not even what kind of mood you're in. You stubbed your toe, and start cursing. And then you should be able to get over it, but you don't. You just keep dwelling on it. You're like, dang, my foot hurts, And so my grandmother used to do this thing when we would get into the car and it'd be steaming hot. So we're already hot, right? And she would get in the car and she'd go, oh, it's just as hot as blue blazes in here. And the whole time she's saying it, the temperature is going up, up, up.
Yeah.
And she's literally making the temperature go up by talking about it like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I know. I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's like, I understand what you're saying. Like, she's complaining about the heat. And then the more you think about the heat, the hotter it gets. It's like, that makes complete sense. It's like,
also, she's putting out these audio frequencies. It's like, oh, it's just as hot. Her voice is adding to the heat. She's putting out these frequencies, these audio frequencies that are in. It's not even just that she's expressing irritation, which she's doing, or the suffocation or whatever she's feeling. It's that I'm picking that up from her by this tone in her voice. Because think about it. You could say it 100 different ways. You could go, whew, it's getting hot in here. Let's turn the air conditioner on and cool things down. And sort of get everybody ready to get cool, Or you could do what she does. Oh, this is hot, isn't it? And then you're just, everything's getting hotter, I mean, it's an attitude, it's an atmosphere that you create through all these different devices, like the sound of your voice, your body language, your posture, you know, just everything about you is
Sure.
off these vibrations.
Well, I mean, here we go. I wanted to bring this. I'm going to bring this in on screen real quick. It says here that, let me scoot it over a bit. There's a theory that the change from 432 hertz to 440 hertz was dictated by a you know what propaganda minister, Adolf. I don't want to say that word. Joseph Goebbels. He used to make people think and feel a certain manner and to make them a prisoner of a certain consciousness. Then, around 1940, the United States introduced 440 hertz worldwide, and finally, in 1953, it became the ISO 16 standard. So, if you go on to YouTube, and I sleep to this every night, 432 hertz, because there's a reason that somebody who was part of the Third Reich switched that up from 432 to 440. Everything, the earth is tuned to a hertz. We are tuned to a hertz. And if you slightly tweak that, it can obviously do something. It could do something to your DNA. It could do something to your brain. It could make you feel a certain way. And this is what he's talking about. He's talking about it could actually make people feel in a certain manner and to make them a prisoner on certain consciousnesses.
Yeah.
Now, Linda, this is my thought on this. Where in the hell did he get that information?
Well, okay, let me tell you, and I don't know how many people are, I wouldn't call myself a Christian in the sense that I go to church all the time and read the Bible. I was agnostic for many years. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus Christ, so, and most of my, reintroduction, if you want to call it that, would have been because of what the WikiLeaks showed me. But even before that, I knew we were in trouble in the 2016 election. I knew we were in trouble. And I knew it was bad in the sense that I could tell it was a battle of good and evil. Because when I saw that they were going to bring these Syrian refugees over here and that there were ISIS members, going to more than likely get in because they weren't vetting these people properly. And when I saw that those women chained together in those black shrouded outfits with their faces covered and their arms covered, they couldn't even have their hands showing, all chained together, all the women of ISIS. That it just looked evil to me. It looked like something satanic. So I think it does go back to evil, malevolent, spiritual force, a world and a dimension that we can't see with our eyes, I mean, we do see it in a lot of ways because look at Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
And also, I say this all the time. I don't know about these people because I think they might be not human. I don't know whether they're demonically possessed or whether they actually are like gene splicing and hybrids and stuff. But that's for another. Right now, we're just talking about the whole aspect of what you're talking about. That they are trying to affect. Because what it does is that by setting the hertz off, and I don't know the exact, I think it's 444, which is one of them is a healing, growing. It's called God's frequency. Is what it's called, and the frequency that you're talking about is called Satan's frequency. And what happens is it's agitating. It causes panic attacks. It causes a disruption in your body. It can cause tumors. It's been linked to cancer. It's been linked to stress levels, sleeplessness, all kinds of other illnesses. And they amplify it and mess with it. I think they've been doing that.
Well, we
No.
can bring it in here. I'm glad. See, this is working out really. This is really fun. So, Ed Skilling designed a unit to output 728 hertz, which is the Rife frequency considered to be the most healing. This frequency is carried on a radio frequency to wave to transport it to the body. There are multiple, you're right, there are multiple different frequencies, and you can find these on YouTube, guys. If you go on YouTube and you're like, I want healing for migraines, or I want healing for depression, or I want healing for security, this is not in any way, this isn't in any way sacrilegious. This isn't blasphemy. This is science. This is science that has been, you're not going to learn about this. There's a reason for it that it's on the internet, because there's a lot of disinfo and there's a lot of good info that's on the internet. But when you talk about stuff like this, I can attest to this, that I listen to 432 hertz every single night when I go to sleep. I pray when I wake up. I pray when I go to bed. Then I put on 432 hertz on my phone, and then I fall asleep to that. A lot of people fall asleep to the rainmakers or like a thunderstorm or ocean waves crashing. I listen to 432 hertz and I go to sleep. I've been doing that for over 2 years now, and I can promise you it does something to your subconscious. There's actually some other stuff out there, Linda, that I've been doing when it comes to, there's actually prayer that it doesn't have to be, it's not necessarily verses or anything like that, but it's for your subconscious. It's like, it guides you into sleep. It relaxes you. There's a pause. And then for about 30 minutes, there's dead silence and it's just a little bit of music. And then when you're asleep, then it starts to talk. It starts to talk, and then that's what you're learning subconsciously because you're still awake. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but the last part of your body that goes out before you die is your hearing. So when someone's on their deathbed and they're saying they can't hear you, they're in a coma, that's not necessarily true. The last part that goes kaputs is hearing. And I believe there's something to that. I really do believe that. So when you're asleep and you're listening to 432 hertz or whatever hertz you want to, really does help. You should try it out. Try it out for a week and to see if you feel any different when you wake up the next day. I'm guaranteeing you're going to feel something different, and it's going to be positive.
Well, a couple things about what you just said.
Sure.
One thing is, it's BBC. It's an enigma to me. I'm kind of obsessed with BBC in the sense that so much of their programming is so good. It really is good programming. If you want to be entertained, I mean, I know it's all programming, but it's so well done. And I don't know, sometimes it's really hard to even see what the programming is because I feel like the whole thing was so beneficial to watch. And they had a series, I think it was Beyond the Pyramid, or the Mystery of the Pyramids, or something like that. It was a whole series, and there was a lot of disclosure in there. Of course, now I know that they have to tell you some of the truths or whatever, but they did a whole thing about how the pyramids were a system all across the globe, and that there were certain pyramids that they used to use the vibrations and the frequencies, that they would go in and lay down in these pyramids and be healed from the vibrations and the frequencies that were going inside these certain pyramids. And yeah, you can look it up and see. God, my memory's going. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's The Secret of the Pyramids or The Mystery of the Pyramids or something like that. And it was a series. But they talked about these healing pyramids that they had. And they would go in and they would create sounds and frequencies inside of these pyramids. And you'd lay on these tables and you would just lay in that there, and you would be healed. And so I know I was watching Mark Taylor one time, and he was talking about Satan's frequency versus the healing frequency. And, what he said was, well, if you can heal with a frequency, then you can do damage with a frequency. And that's what these creeps have done. They found the most damaging frequencies to put out. And I think it's Alan Watts that has a video. It's called Never Watch Television. It's a short video, but he talks about how it was created by the CIA. And they're playing you like a fiddle, and they're causing probably every health problem you have. They're at least exacerbating it. And it's a poison. It's just poison. And I got rid of my cable. I feel a lot better since I got rid of my cable. So
I suggest, and this is what I've done. I used to, for the majority of my life, I slept with a television in my bedroom. Since I've been in this apartment for 9 months, I have not had a television in my bedroom. I actually put my phone on airplane mode as well. And I know people are like, hey, Alexa listens to you. Don't get Alexa. Listen, I'm going to just say this real quick so it'll end your paranoia. If anyone's weird about this, everything on us, phones, these are tracking devices. This is in the same video that Joe M made, 17, the plan to save the world, right? We all are carrying tracking devices, even the LIDAR, okay? I don't know what this is. I don't know why we have these. I mean, they're extremely convenient, but they also can lead to trouble. But if you research stuff about airplane mode, it actually shuts off something within the phone that is emitting frequencies that I think is really bad for us when we sleep, especially if it's on a nightstand and it's like head level with us. Something to look into. I pulled up this, Linda, real quick as you were talking about the sound healing pyramids of Egypt. And we can see here how some pyramids of Egypt were designed with the purpose of healing. While it is traditionally believed that the pyramids of Egypt were used for the final resting place of pharaohs, more and more academics are beginning to challenge this idea, claiming that some pyramids were used for sound healing. So, it also says, the first and most obvious reason that many of the Great Pyramids were not used for burial sites is that they are not decorated with hieroglyphics, which was an important feature for all Egyptian tombs. Secondly, because tomb raiders were a constant worry. Burial sites were traditionally hidden in the Valley of the King so that the mummy would rest in peace undisturbed. And we have this today, and somebody rich dies or whatever, they're buried with like a, there's like that rumor, there's like a cat with a diamond necklace and a ruby on. They'll dig the cat up, and take the necklace, so on and so forth. I hear that story all the time. It says they were buried in the Valley of the King so that the mummy would rest in peace undisturbed. Not buried in plain sight in the most recognizable buildings in the world. For these reasons, keep an open mind that the Great Pyramids were used for something else. Linda's correct. Dr. Abid Hakim Ayyan is a native Egyptian archaeologist elder who has been endowed with knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation, and he believes that the pyramids were used for sound healing. And we can look at these pictures right here. Dr. Abibs believes that the quartz, we've all know about limestone, we all know about ghosts, we could talk about paranormal here too, that most buildings that are built out of limestone, built near water, are more paranormal active. They have more paranormal activity within them. So it says here that these granite slabs found in some chambers, and I'm going to slide it over so we can see, chambers were not meant as a sarcophagus, but were meant for people to lie in as they absorbed healing power of the particular frequency that the chamber resonated. And as we can see here, I will blow this up for you guys on the screen. These are the tombs, as we can see here. Sound chambers like the ones found in the Red Pyramid are designed exactly like modern-day acoustic chambers that sound therapists use today. So very good, Linda. Right on point. with what you just said.
Since we got off on this tangent too, I
Yeah.
just add something to this that's
Sure.
intriguing, if you will. It pertains to the pyramids. And I had this conversation with 107, and I want to do an interview with him about this, but what he was telling me, or started to tell me, or touched on it, and then moved on to other things, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, let's go back here. Was that when the pyramids actually also they were preserving their DNA because they had advanced knowledge that so that they could, because they all do this, like the royals, they all do this, these bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be brought back to life. They want to preserve their DNA for the future. And there's this idea that many of them believe that they come from an ancient civilization that landed here millions of years ago, and they're kind of stuck here, and they want to get back, but they don't have the technology, but they're saving their DNA, that like they know that eventually the technology will come when they can be brought back to life. Now, that's what they believe, but it's, I think, a fascinating thing. And also, they do save their DNA. They save their bones and their teeth, especially because the pharaohs knew. I learned this from Moana 7, that the pharaohs knew that the teeth is the most perfect form of DNA. It holds the most concentrated and the most information. And I will say, also adding to this sort of mysterious conversation, that Jeffrey Epstein had a dental office in his Florida home, a dental chair, and there's photographs of him pulling these little girls their teeth. And he also wanted to create a race of people. I don't know if you've heard that yet.
No, yeah, he was completely into human eugenics, and basically wanted to make, I forget what the word is. I wish I could think of it right now, but he basically wanted to have sex with tons and tons of women. He basically wanted to like
people
procreate.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
He wanted to make his own race of people.
Right. And if anyone in the chat, if you know what we're talking about, what is that word where you let me see real quick. You can continue talk. I'm just gonna search this up. I really want.
I think it's interesting that first of all, Epstein Island, even though it's been linked back to this bath place, it still has Egyptian flavor to it, with the blue and white stripes and all of this. It still has that Egyptian air. And he wants to create his own race of people, and he's extracting teeth from these girls, and the pharaohs, and the I guess the leaders or the rulers in ancient Egypt, they all had their teeth preserved as the perfect source of DNA. So somehow I feel like it's all connected, in some way.
Right. They're talking about it in the chat, and right when I found it, transhumanism is what that's called.
Yeah, transhumanism, exactly.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein, the wealthy financier who was accused. I can bring this over. This is actually from the Crooked New York Times. So actually somebody did a real article over there. Mr. Epstein, over the years, was confided to scientists and others about his scheme, according to 4 people familiar with his thinking. Although there is no evidence that it ever came to fruition, I guarantee you he tried. Mr. Epstein's vision reflected his long-standing fascination with what became known as transhumanism, the science of improving the human population through technologies like genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. He would also have many women that he had sex with, and trying to do that. What a sick individual. Where did he get this information from? This is how people need to think. Transhumanism. why would this man, where would he get this information? Because your average Joe, the guy who's down the street working at your Publix, or the guy who's changing your tire, or the guy who's working on the building the new bank, okay? They don't know what this is. Like they would never even, they'll die not knowing what this is. And I'm not saying that they're simple-minded, but they live simple lives. I used to live a simple life before I found this. You can see here that where are they getting this information? And this is what I want to get to the bottom of, because I want the root of it. I want to know where they get this from. It's insane.
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot of this from Juan O'Savin, because he knows a lot about DNA. And a lot of this information is stored in your DNA. And that's what the breeding program is all about. That's why they keep their bloodlines pure, because they're passing this knowledge down from generation to generation. And that's a lot of what their satanic ritual abuse thing is about. These kids, they have to learn all this crap. Not only that, they have to be many of the upper echelon slaves, because you seem, because a lot of your titles, I'm like, oh, I want to know about this, or I want to know about this. You seem pretty much on top of a lot of this stuff in your reports, but that Jeffrey Epstein was experimenting, trying to create the perfect race of people. And so they do all this with the bloodlines. And the DNA stores memory and information. So that's why they try to keep their bloodline pure, so that they can pass this information down from generation to generation. And I also think there's more to it than that. I think they are perfecting cloning and this type of thing, and using the DNA so that they can live longer, and that they have been working or perfected the cloning process to this end. But it's all so that they can also, I believe that they believe they are contacting the wise ones, the wise evil ones, spirits, if you will. Look, whether you believe it, they're really doing it, or whether I believe they're really doing it, doesn't matter. They believe they're really doing it.
That's a great quote. Just because if you don't believe it, or I believe it, or Linda doesn't believe it, it doesn't matter. They believe that they're doing something.
Yeah.
And obviously, let me say this. If it wasn't working, if they weren't getting anything out of it, why the hell would they do it? They wouldn't do it. They're obviously contacting, and they're getting something in return. But they're giving away their biggest sacrifice, their soul.
Sorry about that.
No, what? Go ahead.
I was going to say, and why would they be experimenting with all of this stuff? They have laboratories. They've got money. They could do anything with that money. They could buy build bigger mansions for themselves. They could go on more cruises. They could have more expensive jewelry. No, they're underground experimenting with all of this stuff. And I think this goes to their end of creating a perfect satanic world, where they have these slaves that have been, designed, and they're just practicing all of this stuff. But I do believe this has been an age-old goal of this bloodline of people.
So,
or whatever they are, and that they are passing the information, all this stuff on from generation to generation through the DNA, and also through programming and stuff like that.
Right. So I see people saying like, hey, where are you getting this information from? I mean, don't go on Google. Don't go on Gaggle. Go on DuckDuckGo. This stuff it's still out there. Like, you could definitely look. I mean, I was researching this stuff 4 years ago, figuring it all out, and then I decided to do a podcast about this. But it's out there. We're not just making this up. We're not just reading, fairy tales. These people, the elites, these people who are massively rich, when you see Nancy Pelosi's net worth is like $400 million, and she makes $190,000 a year. What do you think is going on? It's not trafficking drugs. It's not trafficking children. It's their bloodline. They're pushed into this. They're worth a lot of money. The amount of wealth that's out there, I don't even think we could be able to comprehend that. I really don't believe we could comprehend how much wealth there is out there. But that's for another, we can get into that later. I wanted to stay on topic. I don't want to go off on tangents.
Well,
So
this is a good, though, example of, we kind of didn't have a topic because we were going to just talk about.
Right. That was the plan for this time, was just to be like a dry run. Let's hit a bunch of stuff. And I think next time will be more structured.
Look how we got into this conversation. It just happened organically. And now we have.
That's beautiful. It's very fun.
You have notes for.
We're going to get, yeah. Do you want to do notes?
No. I was just saying, this is a good example of what we didn't plan on talking about, healing frequencies and all of that, but the conversation organically evolved into that. And then from there, we started talking about all these other things. Now in the future, when we do a show, we'll probably have a topic for it.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like more structure the next time, we start doing these things. So we have a thing so people can call in, we can talk about it. What I want to say is, guys, if you are enjoying this, if you are enjoying me and Linda's conversation and you don't know what we're talking about and you're actually learning stuff and you're intrigued by this, leave a like. If you want to donate to the channel, you can do so. Donate to Linda as well. This is a partnership thing that we want to do here. She has PayPal. She has Patreon. I have PayPal, Patreon. The super chat's right there. If everyone right now donated $3 for this amazing information that we're telling you the truth. We're not just giving you hearsay and trying to steer you in a direction or send you out off on a tangent and make you look crazy around your relatives. No. We're doing this because we've been thinking about doing this for how long, Linda? 2 months?
Yeah.
2 months. We've been waiting to do this. Till we put something out there. So if you hear my voice and you hear Linda's voice tonight, leave a like on this video. There's a lot of people watching right now. A lot of people. So definitely, if you want to donate to keep it afloat, let's do this. Let's make this a weekly thing. It's already a weekly thing. Every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're approaching the top of the hour of hour 1. I wanted to hop into something real quick that goes right back into what you were saying. Kind of goes into something else, actually. And I'm going to bring it into focus for everyone real quick. And it says here that proof of aliens in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, the relics hidden, and listen to where the hieroglyphics and relics are hidden in what type of museum? None other than the Rockefeller Museum. The Book of Enoch, translated by R.H. Charles, depicts an alien race of 200 non-humans that landed on Earth prior to our megalithic age. Enoch was supposedly the great-grandfather of Noah. The book was written in a Gazese language. So, you want to go into that? We can go into that. I have a question for you that I'm not necessarily.
Mention something really quick, because somebody said, where are you getting this information and all of that? And I wanted to mention that there's a video on my channel, and it's Juan07, and it's about DNA, and it's called Your DNA Sings Its Own Song. And he gets into a scientific evaluation. See, we don't know a lot about our own DNA because they've kept that from us, because they are interested in our DNA. 23andMe, all of these things. These are databases so that for the rich to, get organ transplants and things when they need them. And that's what they are. The Red Cross, they're selling the blood. They're selling body parts. They're They're marketing and selling these things because this DNA is a huge part of this cult is the DNA and the blood. And whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. They believe that by using this DNA on certain geographical locations at certain points in time during the year, it's an astronomy thing, that they use DNA to contact people that they believe are the wise ones from their previous civilization, and they are getting downloads of information like what you're talking about, how to preserve the DNA, how to do this, how to do that, what strategy to use here. And they do this. They have these ceremonies at Epstein Island, and they use blood and DNA to try to contact these spirits that they believe has knowledge. These certain spirits that they believe have knowledge, and they want to control these spirits. I mean, that's what they're doing out there. They're not just befriending the spirits. They're out there trying to contact these spirits and control them. And of course, I don't know because I've never been to one, but according to people who have, these spirits don't want to be controlled. So it's a chaotic, horrendous scene when they're having these ceremonies and these rituals, and the DNA is prominent, or they wouldn't be chasing these kids and killing these kids and looking for DNA all over the place the way they are. Legalized abortion, the Red Cross.
Yeah. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, I saw this thing, I just reported on it, that in I believe in front of the Vatican now, there is an actual, I would have to go back into my email, which I can do that real quick like.
The other thing is Sean from SGT Report has a great video out now. And the guy's name is Sauter, I think. Dr. Rick Sauter. And this guy talks about a breakaway civilization and how they've been hoarding money. And I've heard about this too, that there is a breakaway civilization living underground, and we have paid for them to build out this breakaway civilization. So it's not just me saying this, this is information that I've gathered from various sources. I mean, the information's out there. You can see it. This SGT report, this Dr. Sauter, he really lays out some interesting information about a lot of things that I can't say the words on the live stream.
Right. Yeah. Some things we can't say. I mean, you can hint, You can kind of give like an audible or something like that. I'm trying to find this information
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, there you go. So what did he say about this?
He's just talking about this whole breakaway civilization. And it gets into some really interesting aspects, such as they speak in numbers. That's their language, is numbers. That's how they communicate, in numbers. And when you think about the internet, what is the language of the internet? It's numbers. It's all code. So
you're a believer in what is it called when numbers add up to letters and so far? I know Serial Brain 2 talks about it a lot.
Well, it's gematria. I mean,
gematria, correct.
It's a code. I mean, it's just a code, and they're applying the code to the president's tweets, and they're coming up with things. So.
No, I mean, I know.
Also with their tweets and with their stuff, because it's their language, it's their code, not Q, not 17s.
You're right. All right, I can't find it. Basically, I went over this thing that there was a statue that has actually been built into the entrance of the Vatican, or in the outskirts near the Vatican, where you have to actually walk through this, and it's actually a statue of Moloch, not the owl, but the god. You know, there's different forms of him, and he has the furnace in his chest. The furnace is in the chest where they would actually, the hands are like this, and then the furnace is here where they would actually give the children, they would sacrifice and throw them into the furnace. It was just symbolic of what probably took place a very, very, very long time ago. They probably actually conjured up this thing, this entity, and then they actually sacrificed their children to this thing in hopes of getting money, or in hopes of getting fame, or in hopes of getting health, so on and so forth. But in reality, demons don't work this way. They don't. If you look into demonologists and stuff like that, the only thing a demon wants is for people to suffer, and it wants your energy. There's no positivity within it because they have revoked God. They have revoked the Trinity. This is what they do. They feed off of negativity. They're not going to help you. So these people who are out there, Hussein, HRC, Adam Schiff, Epstein, you know, oh my God, what is his name? Oh my God, the guy who owns the pizza parlor. I can't think of his name. Yeah, Alefantis. These people are doing this. Marina Abramovic. They're doing this because they are thinking that they're getting something. Could be age reversal, something very shallow. I'm imagining it as something very shallow they get back. Money, materialism, stuff like that.
They're the richest people in the world.
They are. And Alefantis is one of the 50 most powerful people in D.C., and he owns a small pizza place. I mean, you use your logic on that. That's insane. It's insane. Well,
I mean, but that's the return. That's what they want. They want the money for the power, and they have an agenda. I mean, they believe they are working for their father, who is Satan, who is Lucifer, who is
correct.
There's a lot of different cults. It's just like religion. You know how there's a lot of different, there's Protestants, there's Catholic
denominations.
Yeah. And so there's Baptists. There's a lot of different types of churches you could go to if you want to worship. But they have the same thing. And, you're still worshiping good. You're worshiping God. You're in most churches do have God and Jesus Christ. But with them, they have, some of them worship Isis and, Osiris and Isis and that whole thing. Some of them worship Moloch. Most of them do worship Moloch. A lot of them have multiple gods, like Gloria Vanderbilt. I know she was worshiping Tanit. Well, Tanit is like Isis, it's the consort to Moloch, and they did they had a big bronze statue, and they had a certain night that they would do it where the moon was in a certain place and the planets were in a certain place, and they would demand that the townspeople had to pick a child and sacrifice a child. And
right. Well, you have when we saw what was on Jeffrey's Island, I mean, they had, it's a sundial. No. It's not a sundial. When you have the different, the different phases of the moon, and then you have these rocks, these flat pillars that were like tables. These were like, they would probably wait for like a harvest moon or maybe an eclipse or something like that, and then they actually would do these sacrifices on this thing. But mainstream media would say, hey, this is just a sundial, this is innocent. Nothing is innocent about these people.
Yeah.
And whoever said that I was a high school dropout, that I'm talking like a high school dropout, don't say that. Don't say that. Because I'm not a high school dropout, so go ahead. I'm not getting triggered. It just kind of pissed me off. Go for it.
So interestingly, I talked to someone who explained how these ceremonies went on Epstein Island because I want to know, what do they do? What are they doing? Are they just chasing kids around willy nilly all through the island? I mean, are kids screaming? Is there music playing? And what's going on? What are they actually physically doing? Do they stand around and chant? Do they, dance? What do they do? And it was explained to me that the main wizard or witch, the high
High
witch
priestess.
or priestess, stands in the center of the circle. And the circle is there to protect them from demons. So they begin to call up these demons, right? But they cannot come on the inside of the circle because the priestess who's calling up the demons is controlling them and keeping them on the outside of the circle. And I don't know whether they use blood and different stuff around this circle and say chants. I don't know how they do it, but they keep the demons on the outside of the circle. But
Salt.
the person who's doing it has to stay on the inside of that circle, because but for some reason they get pulled on the outside, they'll die. The demons will kill them. Now, so my next question is, well, where are the demons? Are they just floating around in the air? What's going on here? And I was told that, there's a lot of other people around who are there specifically to receive demons.
A conduit.
Yeah. So they've got all these other witches and people around they're used to opening themselves up to the demons. And so they suddenly become inhabited by the demons. So they will kill the witch because they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be controlled. They want to do what they want to do. They want to come down here, live in this dimension, and do what they want to do. But they can't do that as long as the wizard or whatever who called them down, they control them.
Well, let me interject real fast. I've heard that they can't interject with us because we vibrate too high.
Well, I believe, and here we go. Listen, this is why this needs to be every Friday night, because these people are bizarro. We're talking about bizarro world here. We're talking about, usually you could say, oh, bizarro world. Yeah, where everybody has a clown face. No, this is like bizarro world that nobody's ever heard of before. So that's what the transgender thing has a lot to do with that. And this comes from a serial brain 2 decode, but I was wondering about it and researching it anyway. It's a certain combination of opposite energies in one entity. Plus, not only that, their God is half man, half woman, half goat, all of that stuff. So they prefer, it's easier for them to, they have more success conjuring up demons in those bodies. So, and there is talk that the Antichrist would be not a transgender, but an androgyne, a Baphomet, will be made in the image of the Baphomet, which would make it, I guess it would masquerade as a transgender, and that's probably part of their transgender agenda, that they want to create a world where the Antichrist will be welcomed in.
I've heard from a lot of people that Hussein was the Antichrist, and POTUS comes in with the sword of God, the sword of truth and justice and love, and has swiped it down. But we're seeing that in real time. We're seeing that in real time with evidence that he's been spied on. That they spied on him during the campaign, and they spied on him after he was in there, and they were, into the White House. And I believe that this is why these people age. Now, is Trump aging? Yeah. I mean, he is aging, he also has bleach blonde hair. He also has a tanning bed. He gets spray tan, so on and so forth. It's not about the way you look per se. It's about the energy that you put out. The energy that this man has, and this comes up in almost every single interview that with Donald Trump Jr. is talking about with his new book, Triggered. He's hit up everything. He's hit up every national radio host. He was on The View. He smashed them. That was hilarious if you guys caught that. But everyone seems to ask, how does your father have so much energy? And I believe if you side yourself with the side of good and love, that you don't lose that energy, because the energy is flowing through you is so palpable and so strong and so good that it nothing can defeat it. Nothing can blemish it or diminish it. I believe that that's what is happening. I believe we're witnessing something of that God, or the hand of good, has its hand on our president. Thus, there's no age when you look at in terms of energy, so on and so forth. It's very strange. When you look at Barack Obama, who looks like he's about 70 years old now, and you look at all these other presidents who just look terrible. They look terrible. And then Trump's there, and he's just glowing. It's very, very, very interesting.
Well, I think now that he could be more himself, he's come more alive. I think he looked the worst when he was having to take all that crap from them and act like
Couldn't imagine.
He had to act like, oh yeah, like he didn't know what he was doing, and he was the bungling. He had to play Columbo for a while.
Sure. Yes.
And, I couldn't stand watching it, honestly. Well, I don't know how he took it, because I want to go kick all their asses. I was just so pissed off. Every time somebody would say something about him, steam would come out of my ears. I'd be so angry. And I got to the point where I couldn't even listen to any of it. I couldn't watch any of it. I haven't watched or listened to anything CNN. As a matter of fact, if I'm watching X22 Report or anybody that I really like, and they say, now watch what happened. Dave says, now watch what happened on CNN last night. I go, I have to stop it and fast forward till the CNN part is over with, because I cannot listen.
It's so cringeworthy.
I cannot listen to them trash my president. I just refuse. No. And I know that's all it's going to be.
Yeah, that's what they're paid to do. I've said this many a time on my channel. These people, they aren't newscasters. They're agents. They're placed there. They're plants. They're agents. They're CA agents. They're not who you think they are.
Well, they're complicit. Look at Anderson Cooper. Look at that. And look, it's a very sad thing that it's going around that the little boy that's hanging in the swimming pool, the painting that was made in the Anderson Cooper pool.
Is his brother?
No, it's him. It looks just like him.
Oh, Jesus, that's right.
It looks just like him.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't think of it when I saw it. Somebody does they do here is him as a little boy. Here's a combination of him and the little boy in the painting. And then you can just see it. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
Yeah. Check it out.
But the thing of it is that, that's very sad and everything. But at a certain point, he grew up, and now he's one of them, and they are basically mass murderers. Each and every one of them that is involved in these bloodletting ceremonies, especially when you're talking about children. I just, they're CIA agents, they're news anchors, but they're also part of this. They're complicit in this. And yes, some of them are victims. And if that is Anderson Cooper, it's terrible. It looks just like him in the pool. And that little picture, oh God. To think that you would have that as a painting in your house, number one, is beyond the pale. Who would want that in their house as a painting? But then to think that someone painted a picture of him like that, it just,
It's extremely disturbing. Here we go. There you go, guys. This is what she's talking about. So as you can see here, we can zoom in on it. That one of the pictures just takes me a little. John Podesta's taste in art. Blonde hair, dark eyes, very pale skin. Then we can see here Vanderbilt, Biltmore's house. Gloria Vanderbilt's son. Can anyone ID this pool? So let's just take a look at Anderson Cooper. Just get a good look at that face, and then get a look at that face. Same complexion, tied up. This is what I would consider fracturing. This is what they do when they break the human being down, gives them schizophrenia, can give them bipolar, multiple personality disease, and then thus becoming their slave. This is just what occurs. This is the sick world that we live in. And again, this has been going on behind the scenes. They have to create their minions. They have to. There's different hierarchies. You have the Rockefellers, you have the Rothschilds, you have the Vatican, you have the Queen, you have politicians, CEOs, and then you have these news anchors, the Mockingbird Media, and then on the ground you have MS-13 doing this dirty work for these people. It looks just like him. You're right. I have seen that before. I've seen that comparison. I've just never really talked about it, but it's very strange. And one of the chats. Real quick, one of the chats says Anderson Cooper's brother jumped off the balcony of Gloria's apartment.
yeah.
Was he jumped or was he thrown? Speculation is all out there, guys. If you're enjoying this by any means, this is very different for this podcast. This is every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. If you're enjoying it, please leave a like and also donate to the Super Chat. You can go to the PayPal, Patreon. You can hit up Linda's PayPal and Patreon. Do it now. This is free content you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is very special that we're able to do this together. We've been working on this for about 2 months, and definitely, our platform is your platform. I always say that. We're going to open up the phone lines here in about, I'd probably say 15 minutes, and I think we'll round the show out. We'll do that for about 30 minutes and then end. Go ahead, Linda.
To bring up one more thing about
plenty of time.
About the Illuminati. First of all, the Illuminati's been around since the 1400s, even.
Mm-hmm.
This is, we're talking multi-generational elites, and they have all the money. They've hoarded all the money. Whether their witchcraft helped them in this, I would say probably it did, even if you're talking about quantum physics, if you want to look at it that way, that if they believe it's helping them. And so therefore, they're empowered by that belief. You can believe it that way. I believe that, and it's something that I didn't used to believe in, but I didn't know, but I definitely believe in a spiritual world now. And I believe in spiritual entities. And these people who like to play and contact these spiritual entities, and they believe they're working for their father, Satan, Lucifer, or even a legion. You could call it legion as well.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
But a malevolent force, an evil force, more evil than even any of us could ever know about. And so evil that all of these people, like Anderson Cooper, like all of these people, what you have to look at it this way. They're in control of everything. They don't trust a regular person to go into a public office. They don't want that. They want to make sure that by the time they get up to that position, they are completely under their control. If they're not initiated through the bloodline, then they are blackmailed. They're put into a blackmail situation.
Correct.
blackmailed. And I have this book. It's by Fritz Springmeier, who is a deprogrammer. He's been deprogramming a lot of these MK Ultra victims and these escapees for decades. And he described it this way: just like you have in a pyramid where you have the Illuminati at the top, and then you have it all goes down, and then we're underneath, and we are.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great graphic.
They have the same thing with their slaves, their whole slave echelon. And people like Anderson Cooper, they are the upper tiered slaves. And even when they go into their child trafficking, they have the children of the elite are a special class of MK Ultra slaves. And they get a certain MK Ultra, and believe me, all of it is horrific. So they go and they are split. Their personalities are split, and they are controlled through these multiple personalities. And if you remember the Rothschild ball from the 1970s, a lot of these people had multiple face masks, with different faces, or a face on the back and a face on the front. They're all programmed. They all have multiple.
Correct. That's very weird that they do that. In the horns, they all had the faces in the horns. Yeah. Again, I will bring in this. You continue on with that. That's very interesting when you're talking about the two faces at the parties. When you think of these Rothschild parties, it's very, very weird what they are wearing.
Because they were all raised in the MK Ultra system. And the way Fritz Springmeier talks about this, and, our German friends over there that came over here after World War II, they were pioneering this before World War II, and trying to come up with the perfect, they wanted a race that they could control, just like they still do. It's the same bloodlines. And they had started this programming. And then, of course, we welcomed them in, and they had all the monies in the world, all of the facilities in the world to do in-depth research. And what they've got now, it's mind-blowing. And they pick these children, and they're children, small children, because of their aptitudes and because of their DNA. See, this is another reason they're interested in the DNA. They're looking for people with certain aptitudes, and they know it is handed down through the DNA. And they'll kidnap a kid, to take it down into the underground dumbs. They'll kidnap a kid, clone this kid, and start programming it. And because they want what they want, they have a need for those kind of people. And they have all these different programmings, like they have it's like a sex kitten programming, and you see them with the cat ears on. They have the bunny, the Alice in Wonderland, but they have
Macaulay Culkin. His company is called Bunny Ears.
Yeah. That's a programming. That's a type of programming. And when I say this, and the Star Trek programming was the one that really got to me, because they literally build an environment inside the head of the person. And they know exactly how to split the personalities by electrocuting these babies and stuff. They do the most horrible things to these kids.
Sounds like Third Reich experiments. This is what they did to the Jews.
Yeah, exactly. They want to create another personality. It's a honeycomb effect. And for the Star Trek programming, they build a whole honeycomb, a whole network of personalities. And they actually create personalities inside the head to guard the other personalities who have knowledge, so that they don't go and tell. So they actually even have a jailing system within the mind of these MK Ultra victims, where some of their alters are jailers and some of their alters are prisoners. It's the sickest, most disturbing thing you'll ever read about people doing to other human beings. And a lot of times I say this, that I don't think they could be human. The way they're doing these things, it's just, it's mind blowing.
I say that all the time as well. I say that, I don't know one soul. I don't know anyone that I've met in my entire life without somebody maybe with a severe head trauma, somebody who's actually been born with some sort of, maybe, and no offense, because I know this is a trigger word, but retardation or schizophrenia or some sort of bipolar issue. Some of these people can do this. Even people on the spectrum have been known to have outbursts and hurt someone. This is just what they do. My son being on the spectrum, not all of them, but it does happen. It does happen from time to time. Linda, we are about 7 minutes away from opening up the phone lines with everything, like for the last part of the show. I think the last 30 minutes of the show, we've been on an hour and a half. Last 30 minutes, I think we can open up the phone lines, get some questions. I think people really want to know what's going on. Real quick, I'm going to take a real quick commercial break because I think we've been doing this for an hour and a half. I just need to get some water in my mouth and so on and so forth. So if you guys want to give us about, I don't know, let's say a minute or two, would that be okay, Linda?
Yeah.
We'll do that. Let's just take like a real quick break, and I would just mute your mic. I'll throw up. I'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll come back. Okay. And we're back. So we're good to go. Linda, we're back. And just had to take a little break there. We've been going for over an hour and a half. So I think it's about that time. If we want to, it is the bottom of the hour. We're going to go ahead and open up some phone lines. So basically, I will control this. If you have a question for me or Linda, you could talk about whatever you want to. This is open forum as usual on this program. So if you are ready to call in, we have about 30 minutes for you guys to do that, and then that's how we'll round out this show. So I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely leave a like and also subscribe to both our channels if you're having fun, and spread this on all social media because this was a lot of work, and it's a lot of fun. Linda, you having a good time?
I am having a good time.
This is a blast. This is so much fun. I love doing this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and post the number. We'll put it right between us right here as you guys can see it. If you are East Coast, that is the first number. If you are West Coast, or excuse me, if you are Central, it's the second number. If you're West Coast, that is the third number. And in the meeting ID is right there, the 405-380-626. Let me please make sure that that is correct. Yes, that is correct. So, guys, if you want to call in, I know the numbers. It will light up very quickly. So if you get in, you get in. If you don't, you don't. And keep your questions quick, and we'll answer them so we can get to more people. Let's try to keep this as smooth as possible. The more people we can get on, the better. More questions answered, and just basically verify who you want the question answered by, and we'll go from there. So I'm sure you guys are calling in right now at any moment. I'm having a fantastic time doing this. This is our first. Again, the show is called Beyond the Headlines. If you've never heard of it, it will always be on me and Linda's social media. So follow her on Twitter. Where can people find you, Linda?
Oh gosh, I have about 5 Twitter accounts, but there's one of them is in my description of my videos right now. I can't remember which one it is because
it's like LJ Paris.
That's it, LJ Paris.
LJ Paris. You can reach her anytime. Message her, follow her. Great information out there. We've got over 1,600 people watching right now. So, this has been a good show. And I'll throw that number back up one more time so you guys can see it. Here we go. We're getting some calls in big time now. There you go. One more chance to take a look. First number is East Coast. Second number is Central. Third number is West Coast. And the fourth number is the meeting ID. All right, we have 4 calls right here, so let's go ahead and take the first call. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. How are you tonight? What's your name and where are you from?
Hi, how you doing, Tom? This is Fred from New Hampshire.
Hi, Fred from New Hampshire. You got a question for me or Linda?
I would like to say the one thing I really have to do with Christianity and stuff like that, and I know, like, I used to go to different churches because I went through foster homes. So one time we went to what they call the HOF, which is the House of Friendship. It was kind of almost like adoption, and they had 28 kids, and it kind of, in a way, I kind of think I blocked a lot of that out for reasons that I won't really get into, but it wasn't really what we should have been being taught. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
The second one was I did go to another adoption home and went to a black church, and there was a lot of singing, a lot of jazz, and I absolutely loved that. So throughout my period of my life, I've been completely confused about religion and what you're supposed to think. And I believe right now, obviously I know, that they are literally corrupting this next generation. So basically it's going to take decades before, between the drugs, the porn, everything else gets put back into how it used to be, like back in the 50s where everybody covered themselves and they weren't so open about everything, and there wasn't that kind of drug use that goes on now. What's your thoughts on that?
Linda, you want to take this one? You want to take the thought of maybe that they've indoctrinated too many people and that the the process will take maybe another generation to get out of it.
I'm in the meeting.
Thank you so much for the phone call, man.
I think that goes completely to the point, is that they are trying to, number one, confuse us about religion and about, the Bible and God and everything, all of it. They don't want us to think that Satan is real. They don't want us to think any of their stuff is real, because they want the whole world to think, oh, that's crazy. That way when people go and try to report it. So they want to keep us in the dark. But I think more to the point, they want to degenerate us and our beings. They want us to focus on lower frequency things, because that keeps us asleep, and they can do what they want to do, but also it keeps us spiritually from knowing what's possible.
Correct.
And, from knowing God, and I think that's a big reason why we're here. We're here to get to know God,
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I believe that the way that they indoctrinate these kids into Nickelodeon and the MTV, into just movies and Hollywood and stuff like that, is basically they're just building false idols. And that these false idols are able to manipulate kids whose brains are still growing. Thus, they grow into this entity, this personality that's not even theirs. It's just something that they're imitating, and it's extremely negative because they're so vulnerable to, they're a sponge. They're soaking up everything that they see, because to them, it's presented to them as cool. And you can go to school and you're not going to get punched in the face. You're not going to get made fun of because, hey, you look like a SoundCloud rapper, or hey, you're showing a lot of leg and you're in 6th grade. Like, give me a break. Like, it doesn't work like that. Good question. Indoctrination is a huge form of what they do to us and try to manipulate us. Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from?
Hey, my name is Kip, and I'm from Indiana.
Hi, Kip. What's on your mind tonight? You have a question for me or Linda?
Well, actually, I have a question that's a little bit off topic, and it's kind of in relation to what I used to do for a living. I'm an aerospace engineer.
Oh.
Has anybody remembered back in 9/11 the mystery white airplane?
I do remember something about that. Can you remind me?
Yeah, it was kind of off camera, off into the distance, but when you zoom in, you can see clearly. Underneath the wings, there are 4 engines on it. That's kind of indicative of a 747. And there's a particular type of aircraft at the time that was a prototype, and we were doing some test flights with it. Anyways, it's called the YAL-1. It's a Boeing 747, ironically. You should pull up a picture of that, actually, if you'd like.
I'm doing that right now. It's called a YAL, Boeing?
YAL-1, the letter 1, or number 1. It is a 747. It's called the Airborne Laser Project, direct energy weapon.
Yeah, I've never seen anything. It says U.S. Air Force on it, on all of these pictures.
Yep, that'd be it. It's a Air Force project. They had started building it in 1999, and we first started doing test flights towards the end of 99, and we had the weapon up online by mid-2000. And so, yeah, if you kind of compare that to the mystery white airplane, you can know about where I'm heading with that. I've actually been trying to get this information out for a little while to a lot of people in the movement. So anyways.
Very interesting. I've never seen a plane look like that before. Yeah,
that's the direct energy weapon. It's a chemical weapon now. It's actually advanced a little bit. The new aircraft project will probably be coming out into the public in about 2022, 2023, I think. So keep an eye out for that. It is an Airbus A320.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much more advanced. If you read more about that, you could probably bring it up a little bit more on the show. But
Airbus A320?
Yeah, Airbus A320 is the new one. Now, if you'll remember when 9/11 took place,
Mm-hmm. Hello?
Oh, I hate that. Kip was,
We were on to something there.
yeah, Kip was
Are you
in.
there? Are you there? We lost him.
Oh,
Continue forward. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from? Hello? Okay. Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Who are you and where are you from? Are you there?
Did you lose your phone connection?
No.
No.
No. Is anybody there? Very strange. What? The stream is running completely fine. I think because he said too many keywords. Hello, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Who is this and where are you from?
Hello?
Hello? Hi, you're on Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. I've been asking you, what's your name and where are you from?
I am so sorry. I have been trying to answer you. My name is Tracy from Campbell, California, and I'm so happy to finally get a hold of you too.
Hi, is it Tracy?
What's going to happen? Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a
What's
question
gonna
for me or
happen
Linda?
For both of you, what's going to happen when all these people start waking up? We need to get out to them in a pyramid type of a organization, like white hats splitting up to go out to these people. I'm not saying it right. You know what, hon? I'm recovering from a stroke. Can you please forgive me on my speech?
Absolutely. Yes. Take your time. It's okay. Take your time. There's no rush. We're fine.
I have thought about this for years.
Okay.
White hat warriors for years prior to Q. And it's white hat men, white hat women. The men stands for minister, evangelize, nurture. The women stands for wisdom, outreach, ministries, evangelical nurturing. If we can get all of these white hats together in a sort of organization where we can contact from a group of people that we know are going to be able to answer questions for these people in the states that they're in. Say, I have an aunt in Oregon who is totally brainwashed. And this brainwashing is a serious spell. It goes back to like Tain Bo Kulong, which is an Irish Edda. And this stuff is real. How do you deal with this when it starts happening, when these people have this instant awakening, when it's shoved onto the TV and they see it, they're going to be not knowing how to deal with it. We need to organize all of the white hats right now where we can say we have people that are in this state. You guys help them. They're going to call you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Linda, go ahead. You can take this. Thank you, Sharon, for your call. Very nice.
Yes, and I don't know if you ever listened to Mark Taylor, but Mark Taylor is connected with a group, and I'm trying to think of the name of what they are, but that's exactly what they're doing. They are starting church groups, and this is for people who spiritually, because this is what, Mark Taylor is a Christian. And he he's worried about people spiritually because the church is about to take a big hit. I mean,
Yes.
the churches are corrupt too, and people are going to be freaking out that aren't ready for this. There's a lot of people who are part of the church, who have been part of the church, who are awake. And they're like, we've been trying to get something done about this for many years, and people won't listen to it. They don't want to hear it. And now suddenly it's going to be in their faces. And so Mark addresses that issue, that spiritual issue, and he has been putting feelers out, and they have started a group. And they teach you, it's actually a course in home ministering to people. And so it's free, it's online, doesn't cost a penny. And if you go to Mark Taylor's website, which is SORD, I think, swordrescue.com, SORD, and plus Mark Taylor on YouTube. He probably has a video about this. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, it's a group of people, regular people, who are awake, who they want to do something, and they don't know they're part of the church, and they want to help minister to people during this time when they start waking up. And so they're all forming home churches now, and they're just waiting now for the bomb to drop. So if you know anybody who wants to be a part of that, Mark Taylor has all the skinny on that.
Absolutely. And the reason that the phones are muted right now is because people call in and they start talking, and then they interrupt Linda or they interrupt me. So when Linda or me are talking, I want to get the point across, and then I'll open up the phone lines. I know what I'm doing, guys. Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Who is this and where are you from?
Hey, Thomas. This is Joyce from California. How are you?
Hi, Joyce. What's going on? You got a question for me or Linda?
Well, both of you. You sound better, Thomas. And Linda, I love your show. I'm like a big fan. And I've been following 107 for a long time. But it's Omega Kingdom Ministries, by the way.
Oh, that's exactly it.
Yep, that's it.
Repeat
and
it.
the reason I know, they have it's really growing. They're starting churches in every community, in every state, and now they've even gone over and they've got them in England, and it's really growing rapidly there so that they can take these people in. I just wanted to let you guys know, you might not hear from me for a little while. Thomas, that's the only reason I know you hear from me all the time. As you know, I'm a holistic practitioner, and so what I've gotten involved in is I'm going to be going and getting special training. I think it's in Texas for specifically SRA victims. So, well, that actually, and some of these veterans too, because they've been hit hard with this whole mind control. It has a lot to do with PTSD too. So, but I just want to say this. I'm so thankful, you guys, because I wasn't able to talk about this for so long. My daughter's 26 years old, and as you know, Thomas, the reason I'm getting involved in this is because she is an SRA victim.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And you guys are right on the money about a lot of things. And, my family knew, but even with my family knowing, it was like, okay, you keep this quiet because this is cray. This is, because you're talking 24 years ago. And
Sure.
So now everybody's awake. I've been, this has been bottled up in me, and you just don't talk about this kind of stuff. So one of these days, if you guys want to, I would be happy to be interviewed, and I'll give you, because I'll tell you what, when you're a mom and this has happened, I had to go through the court systems, and I had to fight, and I had to learn the law really fast because they were trying to get her away from me. And it was a nightmare. I can't even tell you. That whole period of my life was it's a big kind of a blur. But I think it's good for me now to be able to talk about the things I know about it, because so much was coming out of her, and we were seeing things and finding out things. So like, that's why I say you guys are hitting the target when you talk about, you know, the things you're talking about that happen during these sessions where there's demons and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's so creepy you can't even imagine. And for it to be happening to your daughter, I turned into Mama Bear. And let me tell you, my dad was alive then. He's not now, but he was going, my dad's a hunter, and he was going, or was a hunter. He was going in the garage and literally loading his guns, and he was going to go out and he was going to kill people for doing this. And I was like, Dad, you can't do that. You know, then you're gone. And then that, you know, you're no good to us. And he goes, I don't care. And then my mom would go back out in the garage and she'd unload the guns.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to keep my emotions intact, you know, because you're just so, it's your baby. You want to hurt somebody. Let me tell you, when you finally figure out what's going on, and it was mind blowing. Because you got to remember, none of this was out. No one really, you know, was onto this stuff. But I had to be. You want to talk about waking up real fast, and you're thrown into it. So anyways, I just wanted to say that it would probably be good for me to talk about it. So sometime if you guys ever want to interview me, I think I'm ready, you know, to not get emotional and not, you know, I can talk about it
Sure.
in more of an analytical way now. And so anyway, that's it. I just wanted to say, Linda, love your show. Thomas knows I love him. And that's basically it.
Joyce, thank you so much for your call. And yeah, we'll figure something out about figure out something out about an interview or something in the future. Just the next 2 weeks for me is going to be extremely busy. But I thank you for the call. We're going to go ahead and take on. We got 4 more. So
Okay.
Joyce, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm from Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains. Okay.
Yes, I'm in Tennessee, and this is Mountain Warrior.
Mountain Warrior, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I wasn't sure you were talking to me, so that's why I was a little quiet.
It's okay. No. I give people a couple opportunities to respond. You got a question for me or Linda?
I wanted to make a comment. I have listened to a lot, both of you, and a lot of times you all are talking about the elite, quote unquote elite, talking about putting out what they're going to do before they do it, and how that the movies are packed full of signs and numbers and things. So I thought, well, the Pelican Brief, that was about government stuff. So I went and rented the movie The Pelican Brief, starring Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington, and it was just full of pre-9/11 stuff. It had a W on her sweatshirt when she was in a talking position, and there was a bunch of writing on it, but the W, you know what the W would stand for, right?
What would the W stand for?
It would stand for World Trade Center or W. Bush.
Exactly. So her sweatshirt was open, and there was a great big W there. And then there was also, I looked, they said room numbers and clocks and things that they preset in those movies that said something forward of things that were going to happen in the future. Well, one of the things was there was a bunch of people standing in front of the White House, and they had 911 signs every place. And it said dial 357. And that was in 1993, and 9/11 happened in 2001. So 9/11 signs were every place in front of the White House, and they were marching with it. And then they had license plates and room numbers. And one of the room numbers that started out the whole thing was something that's still in the future, and the number was 2820. And in America you have 2820 would be February the 8th of 20, or you could read it like Europe does it, and the second number is really the month, which would be August the 2nd of 20. And that was in the movie of 1993 in the Pelican Brief. So that was so far in the future. How many years is that? 27 years in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
So February the 8th of 2020 or August 2nd of 2020. And so it's just like, they told us to go and look at the movies that they were having.
Yeah,
And
Hollywood has their way of showing us the future. I don't know how. A lot of people are saying in the chat right now about The Simpsons and how they can predict the future, and you have Mandela effects where you see Field of Dreams and you see the Bear-stained bears instead of the Berenstein bears. Something is happening that's shifting this reality. I don't know what it is. We could say CERN. I don't know if we don't have enough time to get into that right now. But what would you say, Mountain Warrior? Is that what you said your name was?
Yes, Mountain Warrior.
Mountain Warrior. I thank you. I thank you for the call. I'm going to take 3 more great topics for us. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What do you think about that, Linda? Go for it.
No, I think they're a slave to their numbers. I think it shows in all of their film. And I think the fact that we now know about this, it's going to be just like Mountain Warrior said. You're going to watch a movie like The Pelican Brief, and suddenly all this stuff is going to start jumping out at you that you never would have even noticed before.
Sure.
People are crazy.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from?
Oh, hi. I'm Liz from South Florida, Treasure Coast.
Okay. Yeah, Treasure Coast. What's your name? Lynn?
Hey, guys. I've been watching you for years. I was awake a couple of years before you two. And Linda, I love you. I'm on the other coast. I have so much to tell you. I tried to reach out to you, but it's hard to get a hold of you. You're such a busy girl.
It's unbelievable how busy you get when during this. I mean, right, Thomas? Who would have ever thought I was supposed to be writing a book right about now? 2016 turned my life upside down.
Linda, that's why I loved you, because funnily enough, I was going to write a book. I was photographed by that serial killer model guy in the early 80s. In Palm Beach, our agent, a friend of mine, we were just part-time models. We hated it. We didn't want to do it. And it was through an agent. And then years later, she calls me, sees me, and says, "Oh my God, have you heard? He's been killed in Maine." It was just horrible. So I was going to write a book. I was photographed by a serial killer.
Was that the guy? Was that the guy that held girls captive in hotel rooms?
Yes, and he preyed on like 14-year-old girls in like malls and said, "Oh, I can make you famous." And he was a race car driver. He lived in Boynton Beach. He had a Formula One car. My friend and I were savvy Palm Beach girls. So, if he had any designs, he would. And plus, our agent sent us. We got the pictures back, and I was like, "These are the worst. I have a book from New York. I mean, why do you send me to these podunk photographers?"
This guy was just a monster. I mean, he super glued these girls' eyes together shut.
Yes, I was photographed by him. My sister, my friend. Oh, yeah.
Well, you're very lucky.
Wow, yeah, that's an incredible story. I'm glad you made it out of there alive and you weren't a victim. It's just, I don't know what year that was or anything like that. And I don't mean to cut this.
I don't want to date myself, but that's probably the early 80s or something.
Okay, yeah, okay, early 80s. I don't want to cut the call short, but we're coming up to the end of the show. I want to get these last 2 callers.
Well, you guys are great. I love you too. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that.
All righty. Bye. Bye, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Hey, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What's your name and where are you from?
This is Carmen Michelle from Kansas. Hi, Linda and Thomas. I love you both. I love your shows.
It's your name's Carla?
Karma with a K. Yeah.
Karma. Oh, Karma with a K. What's up? You got a question for me or Linda?
Well, Linda, I love Warno Saban too. Thank you so much for having Warno Saban on. He's been great and so enlightening. And basically, I was just thinking, you know, when you were talking about like all the Anderson Cooper stuff and you too, Thomas, you're talking about the fracturing of the personalities. It made me think of Ashton Kutcher, and someone in the chat had brought up Ashton Kutcher. And, you know, he was involved in a case where a girl he was dating got murdered, and he just happened to be like the last person at her house. So he had to testify and stuff.
Ashton
I'm
Kutcher?
just thinking, yes. Did you hear about that, Linda?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so what my question is do you think that these people, because you had also mentioned, you know, about Anderson Cooper, at some point you become an adult, but do they really, if they're having their personality split like this, to me it almost seems like it was probably Ashton Kutcher's split personality that did that. Are they really aware of what they're doing? I mean, I think this awakening is for them too, to get out of that and realize what's really being done to them. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, but I think on some level, then you have to send that person to jail. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, they definitely have to be
somehow
rehabilitated.
Yeah. Now, I think it's got to be on an individual case, depending on what they've done. And, you know, the potential here, we're talking about mass murder. You know, these people are involved in a cult where in order to be a member of it, you have to kill children over and over and over again. I mean, that's mass murder. So it's a real hard call. Is she still there?
Hello? Are you there? Hello?
Maybe she hit speaker.
Are you there? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
All right, well, we're going to end there. We got through every single phone call tonight. You know, they lit up the lines extremely. I think we went through 10, 12 phone calls. Linda, I say this was a huge success. If everyone, 1,693 people at an average, we were at 770 people in the chat the entire time. If you enjoyed yourselves, please leave a like. Please subscribe to McAllister TV, right? That's the channel, correct?
Yeah, please do. They're taking my subscribers away.
Yes.
And I never did get a chance to read off the interesting list of topics because we got off on the first topic.
Well, this was a lot of fun. I think we did it perfect, did we not?
I think we did, and I think it's a good chance for people to, it's like that guy was telling me, he goes, I'd like to talk to you about some of this stuff because none of my friends, I can't talk to any of my friends about any of this stuff.
No.
And so now we can have conversations here about all of this.
Yeah, absolutely, we can. And, guys, if you can, follow both of us on Twitter. You can follow me at TRUreporting, and you can follow Linda at LJ Paris, correct?
On Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, LJ_Paris. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just LJ. Yeah, LJ_Paris. On Twitter. But you can find me at McAllister TV or deplorablemcallister.com.
Absolutely. And guys, we want to thank you again, everybody. This will be every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. I want everyone to know that this coming weekend, I am moving. So you're probably going to get maybe one or two podcasts that will be over the phone, using my phone, because I'm going to have to reset up my entire studio here, and then we'll pick back up where we left off. you know, guys, this was a lot of fun. Linda, I want to thank you for doing this. Linda created the intro video. She sent it to me one time. I was blown away. I was like, this is perfect. We're going to get this down to a T. We're going to make the transitions perfect. And guys, I think everyone enjoyed it. A huge crowd tonight. I just think our chemistry together works really well. And we're just, you know, we feed off each other. It's really good.
Well, and we want to know about the same things, and we want to do the same things. We want to have conversations again with people where you can agree to disagree, but we can explore some of these things without people going conspiracy theory, and pointing their finger at you and saying you're crazy and all of this stuff. Because
Yeah.
we're not crazy.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. We had 1,300 likes, and we had 1,770 people watching. You know, this is a huge show. Again, we will be doing this every Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure, you know, we'll promote the hell out of this every single time. It was a huge success. And I want to thank all the mods who actually kept things civil in the chat. I know a lot of these subjects can rub people the wrong way. So thanks to all of the ones who, you know, kept order. And also everyone who donated, everyone who left a like, everyone who shared this on your social media. It means a lot to me. This is my platform. This is Linda's platform. And this is your platform. We come here and we unite. Where we go one, we go all. And this was a lot of fun, Linda. And I guess I will be talking to you next Friday.
That's right. And have a good move.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind. I will do the best I can. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I know I'll keep in touch with you for sure.
Yep.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Remember, guys, be loving and kind to each other. And we will talk to you next time, okay? Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.